That's not who I am. We'll talk with someone who went to high school with Kavanaugh and knew him. What does he think? The Senate Judiciary Committee is set to hold a crucial vote on Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh this morning. This is a live look inside the room where that vote will happen. There is one senator on this committee, Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona, a Republican. We do not know which way he will vote. If he votes against Kavanaugh moving forward, that will mean that Judge Kavanaugh will not get the committee's recommendation. We're waiting to hear which way Flake will go. In the meantime, obviously, yesterday was a big day. Senators on both sides looked for some answers. They got some, but not all. Joining us now to discuss is Tom Kane, who knew Kavanaugh in high school and perhaps can help us understand and fill some of the blanks where the judge did not give some answers. Thanks so much for being with us. Did you watch the hearing yesterday?
Yeah, beginning to end. Yep.
What did you make of it?
I rode the roller coaster just like everybody else. Chrissy Blasey was riveting. Clearly something bad happened to her. I don't believe that Miss Mitchell's cross really gave us any clear answers. And then enter my friend Brett Kavanaugh, and he brought the energy we needed. To my mind, he put down every charge one by one. The who, what, when, where, why was clearly addressed, and it reinforced what I already knew, that he's just not capable of doing this. I will, to the day I die, I will believe that he did not do this. And there are other reasons. In our circle of those days, I pretty much knew what those 5 or 6 guys were doing at every moment. And there was no memory of this. It didn't happen. Plus, our network, our community, the Catholic school kids, we would have known these things stick.
Well, look, you think your friend would have told you. He says he didn't do it, but you think he would have told you how do you sexually
Somebody would have told me. Somebody would have told me.
How would they have known? If he and Mark Judge were the only 2 people in the room, and Chrissy Blasey, who I think you suggest you know, if those were the only 3 people in the room and they didn't tell anybody at the time, how would you have known there was a sexual assault?
Okay, John, what'd you do yesterday? Oh, we got all banged up during the day, and a couple of Holton girls came over, and one of them ran out. I would remember that. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Plus, if something happened to Chrissy Blasey, look, the women we hung out with in those days were not to be trifled with. They're not. You don't trifle with them now. You didn't trifle with them then. If you upset one of them, you upset them all, and you're done.
Okay, but we know we learned from Chrissy Blasey that she did not tell anybody about this for more than 30 years. We also know that that is not at all uncommon among victims of sexual assault.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I have 4 sisters, 5 sisters-in-law. I have 20 nieces.
Yeah, and I'm sure, have you heard from a lot of these women about events that happened to them earlier in their lives that they had never recounted?
Fortunately, they have the support network. I don't personally, fortunately, no one in my family has talked about anything to the extent that Chrissy reported.
Okay, you're lucky, because I have heard from a lot of women over the last 2 weeks who told me things that I never knew.
But they talked about things they could handle. Boys will be boys, and I hate that term.
I'm sorry, boys will be boys. Does that mean that if it did happen,
I hate that term, John. I hate that term.
But what does that mean in this case? Are you saying I know you don't think he did it, but if he did do it, it's excusable?
No.
Okay. Then let me just play what Chrissy Blasey said. You call her Chrissy Blasey. Professor Christine Blasey Ford said yesterday about whether or not she is sure this was Brett Kavanaugh.
How are you so sure that it was he?
The same way that I'm sure that I'm talking to you right now. It's just basic memory functions, and also just the level of norepinephrine and epinephrine in the brain that sort of, as you know, encodes, that neurotransmitter encodes memories into the hippocampus, and so the trauma-related experience then is kind of locked there, whereas other details kind of drift.
So what you are telling us is this could not be a case of mistaken identity?
Absolutely not.
She says absolutely not, and you just told me that the women who ran in these circles that you knew then weren't to be trifled with. So how do you countenance those 2 things?
I can't explain it. She, like I said, I have a lot of sympathy for her because something happened to her. But the man I know could not have done this. And for some reason, Brett is imprinted on her mind.
Have you ever seen your friend Brett Kavanaugh as angry as you saw him yesterday?
No. He's a man of control. He's a man of composure. especially as an adult, but even as a young person, he was in complete control.
Yesterday, was he in complete control?
I think he did what he had to do,
Mm-hmm.
and he owned the room, and he called out the politicization of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I would be angry too. I'm already angry. You say something about him, and you say something about my past. You're saying something about me.
Yep.
And his family has been destroyed, and this is going to follow him, unfortunately. And my sincere hope is that this is a turning point, and instead of this mess being associated to his name, that his legacy will be a more productive and civil discourse around nominations.
You talked about this being a partisan process. Do you think Christy Blasey did this and said this for partisan reasons?
Trump does unusual things to people, but I don't believe I can't get in her mind.
And she is the one making the accusation. Again, we've heard these charges of political process one way or the other, but unless she is making the charge for political reasons, that's at the nut of all this, correct?
What? No, she's a.
Do you think?
I feel bad for.
Do you think she's being forced into this?
No, she was not forced into it.
Okay.
She reported something, and the Democrats fumbled and bumbled. She could have been kept quiet. She could have been protected in this, and the whole series of events is an absolute circus.
There was a lot made. There's been a lot made about drinking, high school drinking and college drinking. Did you drink with Brett Kavanaugh in high school?
Yeah. Sure.
He talked about throwing up. He said he had a weak stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your memory?
Yeah, I was the same way. We had the same restrictor plate.
At how many beers was that restrictor plate?
It depends. Depends on how fast you're drinking. Depends on where you are, what you're doing. I'm not going to go there.
But did you see Brett Kavanaugh drink to excess in high school?
We drank a high volume, but I never saw him stumbling drunk. I never knew him to forget anything. He was a man of higher standards than we had, most of us. And no, he's always under control.
Have you had a chance to talk to him over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I saw him last night.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. I mean, the guy, I was hoping he would relax, but he is the embodiment of resolve, and we're going to get there.
Did he think he changed minds?
Hell yeah.
How so?
Well, like I said, he dispelled all the notions. He squashed every charge, lock, stock, and barrel, and proved to the American people that he is about justice. He's about the integrity of the court, and he wants to bypass all this stuff. I mean, we're talking about his comments as a partisan ploy. He walked in there as a jurist.
What would if there were an additional FBI background check? What would that FBI background check turn up?
It would turn up. You know what it would do? It would serve no purpose. I'm not a lawyer. I don't handicap these things for a living. But apparently, FBI investigations give you a list of facts. There have been numerous questioning and investigations of circumstance already. I think all the questions that they could potentially have been answered. All they're going to do is add layers of nonsense. You want to go and get Mark Judge's work schedule from Safeway so you can back into an empty date on Brett's calendar, and someone who doesn't understand when it happened can pick a day. You're just playing games. This needs to be a finite process.
All it will do is turn up facts. You just said, is Brett Kavanaugh afraid of those facts?
Hey, parsing my words. No, he's not afraid of anything.
Okay. So you don't think that an FBI investigation would turn up anything damaging?
No. And I can tell you something else. I saw it published today that someone's floating the notion that there was something on July 1st at Tim Gaudet's house. Tim Gaudet lived in Rockville. It's 11 miles away from Columbia Country Club, and it wasn't a single-family home. It was a townhouse.
Tom Kean, we do appreciate you being with us. We saw how difficult this was for Brett Kavanaugh. We saw the obvious pain he was in, and we know this must be hard for you and all his friends as well. So we appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Thanks, John.
Well, during Christine Blasey Ford's testimony yesterday, women across the country shared their own stories. Will that historic moment in the hearing room change the Me Too movement? Next. Well, it was a historic day on Capitol Hill with testimony from Christine Blasey.